I was just looking out the ocean, just thinking this is probably the last time I'll ever look out of these eyes again. And I was just, thought that popped in my head was, did I love enough? Did I love enough in this life? And that was it. I wasn't worried about how much money I had or this, that. I didn't care. I didn't even care about the phone in my pocket. I just cared about that. And I was just looking out over the ocean, just trying to slow my heart rate down so I could survive. But I definitely didn't think I was going to ever look out of those eyes ever again.
Hello and welcome to the Ascension Talk podcast with Jenny, and today I got Matt here, and it's so lovely to have a Aussie on the show. And Matt, he's got a real incredible story, hello Matt, welcome.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Good afternoon or good evening or good morning wherever you are.
Yes.
Hi Jenny.
Hi Matt, can you just, I thought we'd just get into it straight away, and could you just please tell the listeners a little bit who you are and your story, because it's quite pretty incredible and inspiring.
Sure. Well, basically, we've covered off. My name is Matt, and I'm from Sydney, which is in Australia, for anyone that doesn't know. But if you don't know that, you've been probably living under a rock for the last how many years. But, of course, big city here. And my background used to be in media and radio and journalism and news and things like that, working for the government and ABC. And so I come from quite a professional background. And my 20s, I had a lot of responsibilities, with one button push, talking to millions of people. That was up to me. I could have said absolutely anything. And that was a large responsibility. So that was quite stressful. So I kind of had a moment where I went, I just don't want to do this anymore, because I'm not really serving a higher good here. I don't really know what my purpose is. So I was kind of going through a bit of that sort of what am I meant to do next phase. And then I took up a sport called paragliding, which is kind of like parachuting, except you're just flying off the edges of hills and cliffs and things like that. And I wanted to just go out and get healthy, socialize, and just enjoy life, and enjoy a little bit of the hard work that I'd done, day in, day out for many years. So I took a few months doing that, about a year, 9 months-ish kind of thing, paragliding and meeting new people, and I was loving it. But there was one fateful day where at that time I was running my own business from home, doing voiceovers, and I had a telecommunications client that said, "Oh, Matt, I paraglide as well. Let's meet up at Cook's Terrace, which is near a beach in Warriewood, which is in the north end of Sydney. So it's towards Palm Beach, in between there and DY. So around in the middle kind of thing. So it's on the North Cove side." And so I said, okay, I've got no other clients on today. Let's go. So I ended up taking, his suggestion, went down to Warriewood and set the paragliders up and was flying. And we were enjoying the afternoon. It was lovely. And then all of a sudden, I had this massive kind of gust of wind, or almost like the wind and the air just vanished. And the paraglider came down in front of me, and then I smashed into a cliff at the free fall rate of gravity. And it was just like 1.5 seconds, not even, just like bang, bang. That's how quick it was. And I had one word of expletive, and I smacked into the cliff. And as I talk, I'm feeling it now, because I never had memory loss of that event. So I lost my leg, and I knew it was already dangling when I hit the cliff. And it was an arterial bleed out, and I was there for about 3 hours before rescue teams could get me. So as you could imagine, that was essentially a death experience. And from there on, that's where things got really interesting in terms of what happened from there. And there's a lot I can unpack depending on which way you wish to go. But that's a little snapshot of where my life-altering moment kind of happened from, my career and my life 1.0 into my 2.0. So that moment was a very big paradigm shift.
Wow. So I was just wondering, when that happened and you were kind of out of it, I know you mentioned once that you had an experience then, that you kind of left your body a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. When I hit the cliff, I was still awake. I was still conscious through all of that. And it got to a point where I realized that I was in death situation, and the only thing I could do was try to meditate. And I know that sounds incredible and strange, but I was just looking out the ocean, just thinking this is probably the last time I'll ever look out of these eyes again. And I was just, thought that popped in my head was, did I love enough? Did I love enough in this life? And that was it. I wasn't worried about how much money I had or this, that. I didn't care. I didn't even care about the phone in my pocket. I just cared about that. And I was just looking out over the ocean, just trying to slow my heart rate down so I could survive. But I definitely didn't think I was going to ever look out of those eyes ever again.
So your pain was pretty high, I guess. So
level 100 out of 1 to 10, it was incredibly bad. Also was paralyzed from the waist down at that time. So my spinal cord was crushed. My pelvis was shattered in 6 places. My L4, L5, S1 was completely shattered. I had my artery bleeding out, and it was visible. You could even see it from the helicopter footage, my artery hanging out, and the rescue teams trying to stop it from getting tangled. So that's definitely not a survivable accident as far as I'm concerned. And the hospital thought I was going to be dead as well. They thought there was 0 chance of survival. And even if I did, because of the amount of blood loss, that equates to brain damage at the very least. And they also thought that I was going to be paralyzed from the waist down without having my bowel movement function because of where the severed cord was. Or at least it was like mostly severed. It was just totally crushed. They thought it was totally compromised. So it wasn't good news for my family, of course. So the outlook wasn't very good. They didn't think I was going to make it for the first night. So on the cliff, when I originally was doing that meditation, I then passed out. And the first time I passed out, nothing really happened where I left my body. It was more of a simulated experience where I thought I was still flying. And I was just flying up and back. And, then I kind of came to and realized, oh, no, I'm stuck on a cliff. Oh, this sucks, kind of thing. And then I noticed the sky had changed a bit. And there was helicopters all around. And then at one point, it was kind of like I could just sort of hear the movement, the rustling of people calling out and everything else. So then I passed back out again. And I could hear the rescuers at the bottom going, "Matt, are you with us? Are you with us?" Because obviously my head went back and obviously I was gone. And there is news footage of me where I'm out of it, where I'm pretty much dead and my head's back. Like I'm not even there. And basically, I was like, oh, I feel okay. And I'm like answering them back, but they couldn't hear me, and I started getting frustrated. They're like, "Can you hear us, Matt? Can you hear us?" I'm like, "Yes, I can hear you." I'm like, Matt, wake up, Matt, come on, mate, you're gonna be all right. I'm like, "What? I can bloody hear you. What are you doing?" And they couldn't hear me. And it reminded me of, not at the time, but just thinking of it now, it reminded me of the movie The Sixth Sense, where, it's like that, where you're all of a sudden a ghost. You're all of a sudden outside your body. So there I am, I see my body and them, and I'm like going, oh no, I'm dead. And at that point, and there was no big tunnel of light sort of thing. It was more of a cosmic sort of a, like in between consciousness realms. And his voice greeted me. It was only audio, so I couldn't see this being. I actually had my experiences with audio. So I'm clairaudient, I suppose.
Yeah.
Also intuition based. So anyway, this deep booming voice just said, "You're welcome to come back home or go back, but it'll be a long process." No, just like that. And I just said, "My mum, my dad, my sister, my family, I can't leave them." And I was crying my answer back because I knew I was dead and I wasn't ready, and I was just so heartbroken for them as well, and I was like really upset because I wasn't ready for that, and so I was actually more scared of leaving them than I was of dying, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I was given the choice to go back home, meaning to not be here anymore, and I decided to come back. So I was actually given that choice is up to me. So
and how did that happen? Like, you said, oh no, I want to go back. Was it telepathy kind of like, did you feel like that, or was it?
I felt like it was someone actually there, but I could only hear the voice and answer back. So when you're in that conscious spirit state, the light body, it's not really the same as our experience in here in our little meat suits. It's a bit different. It's kind of like, it's just hard to explain. I can't explain it in a quantifiable metric of words in our language. It is all that is and all that isn't. Some people call it the void, other people call it the cosmic realm or the dark matter. I don't know how to say it in words, but it's like I got halfway home and I wasn't allowed to go fully back to the realm. So I kind of got stopped and I had the choice to keep going back home or to return. So I chose to come back because my answer was enough for that being, which I call God or source, to send me back. So then I woke up and I remembered like this gasp of air as I electronically zipped back in my body, like I was like, woke up again. And all of a sudden I noticed the sky was darker. So I'd obviously been out for some time, of course, and it was quite an ordeal. I was sitting there going, I know I'm going to live now. It's going to be okay. And eventually when they rescued me from the cliff, jumping ahead a little bit here, I didn't remember saying this, but I was told this by someone that helped rescue me, a surf life rescuer on scene. I bumped into him a few months later, and he goes, "Are you Matt?" And I'm like, "Yes." He goes, "Do you remember me?" He goes, "I'm Dean. I was the guy that was calling out to you on the cliff when you passed out."
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness. This is unbelievable. Because he was the guy that was calling out, and I was calling back and he couldn't hear me. So he bumped into me. So anyway, I was like in the rehabilitation centre, which is for people that have physical injuries, just to be clear. So I had to learn how to walk again and use a prosthetic limb and everything else. So we bumped into each other in the hallway. He goes, "What happened with you inspired me to get into patient transport as a driver." And that's, I did that because of what happened that day. And that's why he was there, because he was a patient transport driver.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, okay, this is crazy. This is a synchronicity beyond possibility. Out of the 6 million people in this city, all of a sudden there he is. And anyway, he said to me, he goes, "You remember when you woke up and you told everyone, 'Thank you for saving me. Everything happens for a reason. I'm going to be okay'?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "You did. As they were loading into the helicopter." And I was like, "I don't remember that, but I apparently did say that." So that's just from someone else's testimony telling me.
That is so cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that is so cool. So then also you actually got into coma, right? Like for how many weeks?
2 weeks. So the coma wasn't fun because I was still living life, but it was a very different life. But it was almost like I always put it down to coma hallucinations. But since Guy has come out and there's been a show called Cosmic Disclosure, and also people like Johann Fritz, mainly, to be honest, when I heard him talking about certain things, I was like, a light bulb went off going, I remember this from my coma. So I'm like, maybe there's something more to this, because I just put it off in my head as just like a long form dream, and a combination of the drugs they give you. Let's face it, they give you ketamine, they give you all kinds of things to keep you intubated as well. So I just logically minded thought it was just, dream waffle. But then I found out about the quantum side of things, where potentially that is a totally different kettle of fish.
Can you also, I just wanted to say to all the listeners, can you just tell people about your podcast, that they can listen to that one on your podcast, which is on YouTube at the moment, and also BitChute. About Johan Fritz, and also you got really good interview with Gene Decode, and just really fantastic interviews there. So just wanted to say that.
Thank you so much.
But I put everything on the show note page, and also on the blog episode number 16 on my website as well, which is ascensiontalk.com. So you can find everything there, all the links. Yeah, so yes, please continue. Sorry, because I want to hear about the if you don't mind sharing that, what to experience in the coma, and also this interview, you can say whatever you want to. Okay,
sure.
You can say
okay, no problem.
Yeah, just not swear though, but just other things you can say, other things. So yeah.
No, of course, I totally understand what you're saying there, and I mean, look, I got to be honest before I get into this. Just pre-note, I still question everything, and even my own experiences that I have, or my own downloads, or for lack of a better word, that I get. I still filter everything, and the logic side of my head always tries to tell me that it tries to rationalize everything. That's to say. So I still am open about whether my experiences was what you'd call a quantum, I don't know why I said quantum PTSD, but there you go, that word came out. Quantum PTSD, or complex PTSD, meaning that your brain can sometimes sort of invent a set of scenarios that didn't really happen, but it kind of rebuilds and imprints as memory that it did. So there's a lot of new study going into that in the scientific academia realm, about some people that have memories of things, or waking up speaking different languages after a traumatic brain injury or something that they never had before. So I'm certainly in one way still investigating whether my experience was to do with that side of things, on a logic-based sense, or a quantum level, meaning that perhaps my spirit was utilized in a secret program, which was and is being discussed by a lot of people around the world. Potentially, that is also a possibility. So what I'm getting at here is I can't say for sure, but certainly my experiences in the coma involved military, and I woke up from my coma thinking I was on a military base, and I told my family I'd been cloned, and I gave them a clone number, and also I've got audio recording of that from my sister's phone as well, talking about how they rebuilt everything and sent me back. And what's even stranger, though, the hospital did have to step in on this one, is they were asking me questions about when I had brain surgery. And I'm like, I have never had brain surgery. And they're like, you have. You've got a fresh incision line, and your hair was shaved here. You've been surgically operated on. So they actually had an internal investigation to find out whether they started doing that in the ER, emergency room, whether they made a mistake or something. So they sent teams in to have a look, because it was just outside of their understanding. And they were adamant that I had brain surgery. The only thing they could determine was localized alopecia, which is a hair loss. But I've got photos of it, which I'm happy to send you. And it's a straight line. It's an incision line. So, I mean, the fact that they even had to look into that is highly unusual. What's even furthermore unusual is the fact that when I had my accident, I told you before about the outlook from the medical staff, everything else. I wasn't even going to make it through the night. Even if I did live, I'd be a vegetable, meaning that I wouldn't have any brain function because of that much blood loss. You don't have oxygen to keep your body going. So anything over 40% blood loss, usually you go into shock, your organs start shutting down, including, of course, your brain, which controls everything. That's like mission control. It's your computer. So, that much brain function to not get compromised is unusual. So when I woke up, I knew everything that had already happened because I was debriefed on it from someone. There was an Asian man in a robe, and I was in this shopping mall place. It was very strange. And he was taking me to kind of like this transit lounge place. And before we did, because I was saying in my coma, I want to get back to my body. I need to get back to my body, please. I started getting a bit worried. So this guy sat me down and debriefed me on everything that happened. Said, look, this is what we've done from here. And he told me. He said we couldn't do the leg because obviously if suddenly you have a leg, that's going to look a bit strange. So he said, sorry, we couldn't do anything about that. But what we could do was this, and this. Part of that was repairing parts of the body and my brain function, things like that. So I woke up fully sentient with complete memory and knowledge of what happened. And before my intubation tubes were taken out, as I taking me out of the induced coma, there was one moment where I pointed to my family in the room. I pointed to my left leg and shook my head, meaning I know it's not there. And I pointed to the right and did a thumbs up. So this is the fact that I had the memory of it coming out of the coma before I was fully awake is unusual in itself, because usually if anyone researches, even from medical or academia standpoint, people that go for traumatic accidents don't normally remember their incident of trauma because your brain normally protects you from that memory and it comes back in flashes. So that's where PTSD comes from, usually.
That is
I
cool.
Memory.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
That was all I'll say. I had the full memory.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. So do you think if this hadn't happened to you, do you think you would have been a different person?
If I didn't have the accident or if I didn't have the intervention?
Yeah, and that as well, like, all the things
if
that
I didn't have the intervention, I'd be a vegetable, probably dead.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. But if this, the experience of the accident hadn't happened, because you seem like a really, we all have up and down days, but you seem like a very positive person and like a go-and-getter and that kind of person. And so have you always been like that, or did this experience create a better Matt?
I've got to be honest with saying I've always been a go-getter. I've always worked in industry of impossibility, meaning that, millions of people want to be a broadcaster, but only a small slither of percentage actually get to that level where you can get paid to do that, working in a capital city sort of thing. So I'd always had the law of attraction type things in my mind. When I was a teenager, I used to read Many Lives, Many Masters and books like that. So I've always been open, and I've always had a relationship with God and a source or the high power, so however you wish to label it. I've always been aware of that. But what's changed for me is the strength I didn't realize that I did have, which the adversity in life has kind of given me a sense of understanding of the strength that I do have, which I didn't know before. So that is kind of like another feather in the cap as far as getting through the next phase of this life here and being a beacon for other people to show them that no matter what you go through, there is hope, kind of thing. So from that aspect, there is a change there. And certainly my intellect did change after the accident. I came back quite a lot more IQ points, a lot different in terms of how I describe things. I can sit down, for example, automatically write out a legal contract. Bang. I can do it with my eyes shut. It's just things like that that I can't explain, that I never had that sort of skill set before. So there's certainly some changes, definitely. It's like I've been upgraded.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because some people talk about that, and it has maybe improved a lot then, and but also what was I gonna say? Like it was. I listened to and for everyone that hasn't listened to the interview you did with Gene Decode, which is like around 4.5 hours, like it is so worth it. Please have a look at the link. But like Gene talked about a kind of a similar experience, and I was wondering because you guys were talking about the kind of near-death experience, and after you come back, and that you want to tell everyone about your experience and what you know now, the knowings. And did you feel that that's something you wanted to do?
I didn't know for a while, but I mean, I certainly, I operate very transparently as far as who I am without, of course, sounding crazy. I don't want to make my family worried, so I filter things a bit. But certainly I've always told everyone about my experience from the moment I woke up onwards, but I don't force it down people's throat. I've even talked about it in the media and things like that as well. I've been open about that near-death experience, and for a while there, I was used to have a comedy segment, even though I was going through hospital. I was still on breakfast radio doing a segment called The Happy Amputee for quite some time, and I actually did wake up and I was positive, and I was just happy to be back on Earth, and I was happy to have a second chance. So at that time, my family thought that, he hasn't faced reality yet. They were worried. Thought, he's too positive. He's going to crash. So, as in, like, mentally crash. But what they didn't realize is what I'd been through in the coma was so vast and extraordinary that I was just happy to be back in a body without the responsibility of what I had to do in the coma, sort of thing. So, certainly it's like this is a holiday. This is a holiday right now. I'm in a holiday world. Oh, I don't care about what's going on out there. It's nothing. It's nothing.
Oh, yeah. Very, very true. So I just wanted to, if we can jump over to ET experiences, if that would be okay, to talk a little bit about that. And we talked the other day, chatted a little bit that you are, what is it called again? Audio? What is it called when you hear?
Clairaudient?
Yeah, that. I'm not. Yeah, and if you have had experiences with spirits and ET encounters and being
Plenty.
on board of ships, spaceships, since you were little,
Affirmative.
if you can share a couple of experiences there.
Sure, no probs. Well, since the age of about 5, I used to wake up with nosebleeds all the time, and I'd sort of wake up paralyzed a lot. But see, what people don't understand, they do have an ability to wipe your memories or put a screen memory in place so you don't remember what happened. So the only time I saw extraterrestrials was in my nightmares, really. So around the age of 8 was pretty specific for me, where I saw a UFO out my bedroom window, and it was blue, kind of looked like a bell. It was glowing, and it was moving silently. It would have been about 300 feet in height, so the length would have been 100 feet in diameter, probably. But it was certainly, I felt at the time it was probably a Terran craft, meaning from Earth. But there could have been some other entities with them. But what happened after that is, because I was so excited, I think I gave a permission slip psychically to be taken.
Yeah. Yep.
So my intrigue kind of got me in the deep end. So I always preface this to everyone that's listening to anyone talking about these experiences, or whatever. Never ever think I want to experience that, because be careful what you wish for, because you're giving permission psychically that you are okay, and that's not in breach of galactic code for them to then utilize you as an asset, whether for good or bad. So I just want to say that first and foremost. So at that moment, I think that gave permission for them to take me. So I certainly did after that have a lot of nightmares. I couldn't close my eyes. This is like in the same year, a bit later in that year, where I every time I shut my eyes, I'd see this alien face all the time, and I couldn't sleep properly. So that's PTSD, where my mind blanked out, whatever it was I experienced. So I had that at the age of 8, PTSD that was extreme in nature, in the sense that, 8, 9, and 10 years old wasn't a normal childhood. It was every time I go to bed, I'd be worried about, having the, aliens come back, because I had nightmares about it. And then after that, I somehow helped with the PTSD, where I could shut my eyes and then that vision wouldn't keep coming back in my head. So it took this really big nightmare for that to stop. And I had a kite at the time, and I used to fly it all the time. So I actually drew the alien on the kite with paint, and I used to fly it going, I'm in control. So that was my way, that tender age, to gain some control back over that experience, sort of thing. And then after that, I could close my eyes without having that searing image popping in. So that's, of course, a negative experience there.
And what did they look like?
I think it was grey, definitely, and probably a little bit more skeletal in sort of features. It certainly wasn't pleasant, and I think they used to come through, the bedroom, and they can do that. They can quantum hop into any area they want and take you out and do experiments or upgrades or whatever it is, depending on the race, and send you back, and your parents wouldn't know the difference. One thing I will say is, usually for anyone that's thinking they could be possibly a part of that, is when they make noises when you're going to sleep, they test to see if you're asleep or not. So they might ring the house phone at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is. Or you might hear someone in your kitchen and you might think it's another family member or something when you're drifting off to sleep. It was even about 6 months ago, I remember the dogs were scratching at my door, and I was like, that's interesting. I thought they were in here, and they were asleep next to me. So they usually will try and test that everyone's asleep, because you kind of get this wave of like, it's almost like they send out a scalar wave that everyone in the vicinity of that household will be won't be awake, and then they test. They do a little test to make sure. So that's just something I've experienced a lot, and that's usually the negative or the Earth programs that do that, because you're star beings. If you're a starseed, they've got technology far beyond that. They don't need to do that, and you have a positive experience where you don't get traumatized by that. So that's just my impression at the moment. So signal.
Yeah, did you also get some marks? Because I was talking the other day about I had triangle marks, like with needle marks that formed a triangle.
Plenty. Usually they don't last, though. They usually go quickly.
Yes, yeah.
So you go to get it looked at and it's gone. Sometimes you get scoop marks and stuff like that. I've had scars that were on my forehead that are no longer there. And I've got a mysterious scar on the back of my head. I don't understand. That's one. Another time I remember I was actually asleep on the harbour on a boat, and I for some reason had a claw mark down my neck with 3 claws. Yep. So I got photos of that somewhere. That was in 2012. So that was very unusual. I thought someone was being a smart aleck, sorry, excuse my language. This was a party boat and we all crashed out on it. I thought someone had maybe gotten a a razor had just like cut lines in my neck, but it was three claws. So I definitely have had those sort of things.
Have you also had more positive contact as well?
The positive contact, not so much that I can remember at the moment. So these are things that come out in regression, but I actually don't have any positive memories per se. I definitely know that they're out there, and I quite possibly have had visitations. I have had a positive dream of being presented a child, where I've met a child that was a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
So that could have been mine. But it always happens in dream state for me. Whereas I think you have actual physical experiences where...
No, actually, that's I have. That's what I have as well. I have really clear, vivid dreams, and it's almost like I'm remote viewing the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how my experience. And it's so clear. I can smell, and feel and hear things. It's so pretty much the same as you.
Well, that's an indication there that if you've got smell, taste, touch, feeling, all the rest, that's a good indication for anyone listening. If your dreams are like that, there's a possibility that on a quantum level that could actually be real. Whereas usually dreams kind of slide in and out of scenarios and you don't really have the full sense of, it's a dream kind of thing. But when you have a real experience, it's like when I was about the age of 11, I remember me and my best friend at the time had the same dream. And the dream was we're fighting and running away from an enemy, and we're fighting this war, right, on a place called the Hill, we called it. And we both had the same dream, and that felt more real than anything. And that's something I've never forgotten, if that makes any sense, that it had all the markings of what it's like being alive. So I think back on that as an actual memory more so than a dream memory sort of thing.
Yeah, I do think the more we unlock our unused DNA and the more we work on ourselves, I think more and more of this is happening, which I think is a really positive thing that's coming, and it's inevitable. So, I'm really looking forward to that because, I also have like experience and dreams, and like I actually have a friend that's like, oh yeah, I saw you in a dream, we were doing this and this, and I'm like, yeah, me too. So it's like, so it's so, but I think it's really cool. Is there anything else can I just ask you, because I do talk about Misha Johnston quite a lot because I really like her. She's a really beautiful person, and she's helped me a lot in this journey, and that's how we connected as well. She's got starseedawakening.org, I think it is the end.
That's right. Yep.
So and she does a lot of regression sessions, and she helped me a lot to unravel a lot of questions I had, but I had to do it myself, and that's the thing as well with regression. A lot of people think that you just do this and they would tell you, or like it just happens, but you have to do a lot of work yourself. Can you mention anything what happened in your regression and why you came to her?
Oh wow, this is
just a little bit like
gonna go deep here.
We can do another chat another time, but I find it quite I think it has helped you a lot.
It definitely has helped me a lot. There was a period of time where I didn't know what was happening, and I was drinking a lot of alcohol to supplement my feelings, to the point where I was catastrophic drinking. And little do I know that I had theta and beta omega programming trying to get me to self-terminate, really, just through negligent behavior. Since I've done the regression with her, that instantly stopped. So, I still enjoy a beverage with friends, but I don't have that compulsion to want to polish off a bottle of spirits and things like that, where I used to have no control over that before. So that's just on a very shallow level, I'm saying that. But on a deeper sense, what I got from that reading, not reading, that's the wrong word, but from the regression was very deep, in the sense that on a quantum level, I have someone that has been apparently, well, this came from my lips, not hers, that is essentially me, could be in an alternate universe or dimension, but this person is a white hat in the Alliance and is a captain. So apparently that's my star double, so to speak.
Cool.
So I get downloads from that all the time about what's going on because I'm quantumly linked. And it's very interesting because in April I talked about what was going on, what the Alliance is doing in my regression itself. And then I heard other people a few months later in June, July, talking about that exact thing. And I'm like going, this is incredible. So it's like, hang on, other people are talking about what I had in early April? It's like, this is impossible. Just the detail about what's going on, which I won't get into, by the way, because a lot of it is to do with and stuff that probably can't be discussed openly. But, certainly a lot of information that came through is very current. So that's why. If it was things from the past, different story. But I just don't feel comfortable exactly saying all of it at this point. But certainly from that experience, I did recall what happened to me as a kid. For anyone that's interested in regression as well, Misha Johnson, I've got a chat with her on my YouTube and BitChute channel as well, on the Standing Tall podcast. And she talks about that with me as well. We have a conversation explaining the difference from her readings to what a regression is, to how she does that, and how she does that safely. And we do get into that in quite some depth there. So that's just for anyone that's new to this subject. If you want to have a look and check out that interview, that's another way they can find out more about what Misha does. But certainly I can vouch that she's definitely helped me a lot. On a quantum level, there's a lot more going on we don't understand on the 3D level. So I believe in the 5D realm, and there's a part of me that's still there in that dimension. And I think that's where my other altar is operating from. So it's a higher vibration, part of the Galactic Federation of Planets.
Cool. Yeah. I put a link, to that one as well. That's the one you have on YouTube and BitChute.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at some other platforms soon.
I'll update everyone that's listening now. And if you do update and get a website, and I update all the links there too.
Oh, thank you.
So you're looking at that at the moment?
Yeah, looking at the moment, I do one podcast a month on average because the more I do, sometimes it gets a bit too overwhelming because you're reliving those experiences every time you do a interview about it. So it's I do limit the exposure to that subject because, the more you think, the more you are, and I try to keep myself grounded to the now and the here as well. So it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword where, sure, there's a lot going on that level that we need to explore in ourselves. But at the same time, we also need to not neglect our 3D life too. So it's kind of a tug-of-war. I kind of try and balance that out as best as I can.
Especially with all the lockdowns happening at the moment. And and especially you in Sydney as well. It kind of drags you down a little bit, and but I do believe. I do believe.
Came out of my regression though. I explained what was happening.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, in great detail.
Cool.
So Australia is going to be the place where the next few months we're going to let's put it this way, it's going to be profound for the planet. So that's what I will say. I'll put that on the record.
It's I don't know, like I can feel it. There's so many good things that it's just turning as well. I
have my moments though. I have my days where sometimes I question my own experience, as I said earlier in the interview, where I'm like, no, okay, yeah, sure, I said that in my regression and that's come up for me, but I'm just not seeing the evidence kind of thing. It's like, well, if there is an alliance, why don't we see all the children being linked back with their families? Why aren't we seeing any proof? So there's a bit of that side of me that's still logically trying to ping back to, okay, what's going on in reality here? Is this really for the benefit of humanity, all this lockdown stuff? Are they trying to keep us safe, or are they trying to get rid of us?
I do think so,
Programmed with AI. Are they trying to give us the shot, which is, essentially a different kind of gun. I'm thinking, is that what's going on here?
Oh,
Are they...
or like,
good.
Talking about that, I don't want to dwell into that too much because it makes me laugh, all the names they give it, like,
I know.
yeah.
Like Lambda, which is a military operation term.
Yeah.
Delta, that's a military operation term. We got the military from the US, South Korea, Japan, Australia, all in Australia right now, boots on the ground, doing an operation. And they're saying it's training exercises and war games. But my aggression told me it's not.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way.
And also, I was thinking with the delta waves, that's when you sleep. So they're kind of making, kind of fun of the situation as well, I think,
Yes.
And also...
And Joe Biden's not who you think.
No. That's another story. That's another story.
A big story.
Once you see it, and then there's no going back. But I think that's something that happened last year for me. I was awake, but I was like not that extra percent, but then all of a sudden with everything happening, I'm like, oh my God, I just started to see things. I'm like, oh, it is like being in a movie, and that's not being a what do you call it, QAnon or whatever they call it. It's just like, wow, this is amazing. I haven't seen this before. When you look at the movies and how that is built up, Hollywood and everything, and yeah.
I can unpack a bit about that if you want, in the sense that from my expression of experience, I've got to say this to everyone that's probably doubting this at the moment, is where's Hollywood? What's going on? Where are the movies?
Yeah.
Where's the celebrity culture gone? It's vanished, vaporized. So that's just something.
They're all in Australia. Fleeing, they're all in Australia now and New Zealand. Sorry, yeah.
That's true. I know. That's right. And Gold Coast especially. Yeah. So yes, I know exactly where they are. And some of them are around Byron Bay and places like that. So they've also gone to New Zealand too. A lot of them have gone to the South Island.
Last resort. Last
resort, indeed. And you probably noticed as well that a lot of CEOs in 2020 stepped down. And a big note that happened recently, Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce. I think they're hiding out. I don't think it's a real divorce. I think all these little things are little clues and insights into what's happening, I think, anyway. And once again, I still sometimes question it, going, am I too deep in the rabbit hole? Because sometimes the deeper you dive, the more questions you have, and sometimes you can start connecting dots that don't exist, just out of hope, and the fear porn side of things. And I'm very mindful of that too, because one can get extreme into something where they connect things that aren't real. That is definitely very visible if you look at the truth movement community. There's a lot of factions. And one doesn't know which way to lean, and it's very confusing. There's a lot of wolf in sheep's clothing. So I try to then go within and try to, use my inner filter through the heart chakra and through the gut feeling, because that's why we have it, to disseminate and discern information. And certainly that's what I used to do in my professional career. And, utilizing some of that, I've got that skill set very fine-tuned, especially since my experiences now where, the filter's generally always right. If we want answers, if we go within, we can find them. But we're just so programmed not to go there that we tend to look to our televisions and our rectangles, our black rectangle devices for answers. And that's not where you're really going to get them. You get information, but that doesn't mean that what you're watching is correct. So that's just that's my experience anyway, especially over the last year as well. I've really noticed this tug of war in social media, in digital book burning, we'll call it, watching history repeat, which is an expression I've got. History always repeats, just the colours, reasons, shapes change. So if you want to look at the future, look at the past, and the future can prove past as well. So that's just the
I'm
thing
so
I'd throw.
glad you brought that up because I'm a big advocate for, like, I can't really stand like people that they become like gurus all of a sudden because they start to get a following, and that's also in the truth movement as well. People that start to get a really big audience, and all of a sudden everyone follows them, and this is the latest.
Yep,
My advice to everyone, like, whatever we say, don't believe us.
exactly. Yeah,
Find your own truth. But, it might be a seed planted and you might go and look for something. But also, I think it's the important part as well is like you have to take care of yourself. And on
yep.
that note, I was just wondering with you, how do you take care of yourself, your mental health, and in terms of this ascension process, walk and path we are on?
It's very difficult, just to be clear. I have my moments. I'm human, perfectly imperfect. I have good and bad days. I have days where sometimes I feel like it's hopeless. But the biggest thing that I've learned in the last year is that if you buy into fear, dark wins. So you need to find what it is that makes you passionate. And even if you're stuck in lockdown, even if the whole world, I always say it's like a hurricane. I warn people on Facebook on the exact day a year before the second lockdown that a year from now, things are going to double in craziness. While the storm outside circles around you, be like the eye of the storm, calm, centered, and, keep safe that way. So, that's just the message that I have for myself too, because I still have my moments where I get caught up in the wind. And then it's like, okay, no, get back to the eye of the storm. You don't have to be in it. You can watch it. You can see it happening, but you don't need to be a part of it. And that's a decision inside each and every one of us, no matter what's going on, is that no one can take away your sovereignty and your thoughts and your inner self unless you allow it. So I do not ordain or I do not consent any outside force, power, entity, or government or anyone telling me whether I can be internally happy. That comes down to our own power. And that's what I've rediscovered in the last year, kind of thing. That I guess, we all get caught up in life. We all get busy and we forget our spiritual role and purpose. So in a positive way, things like lockdown for people has allowed them to self-discover what life's all about for them. And a lot of people have shifted careers. They've left relationships. A lot of breakdowns are going on. A lot of people are going through chaos at the moment. And the ones that experience their chaos early could actually not act as a prophet or a god. No, that's what you're saying about some of these people that people follow and treat them like gods almost. I'm just saying that you can be there as a role to help support people through their ascension process. When they find out about some of the truths that you'd already self-discovered years prior, you can be there. They'll remember going, oh, that person knows about this subject, and you can be a guiding help for them, sort of thing. So I think everything has its role and its purpose. And for me, I feel like I'm that anchor for, I remind myself of my own experience to anchor me, for example, as well as helping others too, without even knowing it. And it's not something that I'm asked to do, and I certainly don't ever want to be in a position where I try to lie to an audience or to create fear or create a following for a specific reason, other than just being truthful, transparent, clear, honest, and just being my authentic self.
Why did you, before I was going to wrap it up now, maybe we can chat another time, but I wanted to ask you about that one. What is your podcast about? Obviously about this, what we talked about, but from your words.
Sure. Year before my accident, I wrote a song. It was originally called Game of Thrones, but I changed it to Standing Tall. And it was a year before my accident in 2014. I wrote this song, and I then revisited that song at the end of 2014 because I determined that I'm going to record this song properly. So I recorded Standing Tall. From there, it made me think of the idea to write a book, which I have written about 3/4 of, but I haven't released it yet. I don't think it's time yet. It'll happen when it's time. But yeah, the book I called Standing Tall, based off that song. So then I decided this year, it just popped in my head that it's like, okay, you've got all this broadcasting experience. People out there are feeling lost and they need some hope, and you've got a message to deliver. Once I got some clarity for myself, especially after seeing Misha Johnson and having her assistance in the last 6 months especially, it's given me enough clarity to then go, right, just put a podcast together, and who cares what the naysayers say? Who cares? Family, friends even, they might think I'm crazy, whatever. Just be honest, be authentic, be real, do it, and don't let fear stop you. So that's kind of what led me to do it. And I went, okay, I'm going to just start doing this. And my first guest was Johann Fritz. And if you have a look at that channel, I've got two. So there's Standing Tall, I'll call it the front end channel, where Johann Fritz talks about his near-death experience as well, because he had one as well, and talked about what happened with him and his transformation. And we kind of had that discussion. And that was the first episode that I did. And I released that one in March, I think, or February. And since then, on average, about one a month I've been doing. And there's a Standing Tall 2.0 channel, which dives real deep into things like MK Ultra, some of the programs out there that, hasn't come to light just yet. But I believe that they're real. Certainly a lot of conversations about some of the experiences that go deeper for people that are ready for it, because when you flood people that aren't ready with information, they'll either cognitively dissonance will kick in and just reject it outright, or they'll just have an angry reaction to it and create fear in them. And that's certainly not my intention. So that's why I've kind of split my channels into two. So
can they search for? Yeah, sorry. Can they search for that one if they go Standing Tall podcast too? I haven't got a link to that one. If you could send me that one, please.
Oh, sure can. So there's one's the normal Standing Tall, the Standing Tall podcast. The other one is Standing Tall Podcast 2.0. So that's the disseminating difference between the two, just so people can understand that when they have a look. That if you're just new to this subject and you're kind of getting into it, starting to get the spirituality, I'd suggest to start off with the first one, the front channel, and work your way into it as well, if it's right for you, you know.
And also, have you got I know you interviewed heaps of people, but have you got other podcasts that you could recommend for that you listen to?
That's a good question. I do listen to a lot. There's one called the Quantum Red Pill Cafe. This is for people that are ready for the real deep dive. James Rink has the Super Soldier channel as well. I mean, each one of them are totally different in what they talk about. I also listen to another lady on YouTube every day, and she talks about she's like a channeling lady that goes into experiences. I'm just trying to remember her name, so
well, that's okay.
Off the top of my head, because I have, on YouTube you subscribe to people, and then all of a sudden they pop up on your feed. So I'm consciously having a blank. Sorry.
That's okay. I put the link in the show notes page and on the blog number 16 on my website as well. So.
Saratoga Ocean. Got it.
Pardon?
Saratoga Ocean I listen to as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another lady who's from Australia with Quantum Truths. It's JCK. So I listen to a myriad of different people.
Okay.
Penny Bradley is another one. And this is an important one. Adapt 2030 is a financial analyst that realizes something going on with the markets and the food and everything else, and he discusses grand solar minimum and things like that.
Cool.
So that's some more information there for people to have a look at too, because I might give you some insight as to what's going on and why there's all of this subterfuge happening out there in terms of locking down everything, shipping supply line issues, things like that. A lot of it is to hide the truth from what they really know. And the truth of the matter is the world goes through cycles, and we're going through one now. And it's really, if you kind of look at it like the rapture, is it's up to us. If we all raise our vibration with love, we're going to have a better outcome than if we live in the fear. So we need to keep that in mind, because we'll be okay. And at the end of the day, we all have to remember that every single human being on this earth, 10 out of 10 people will eventually leave their meat suit. We all do. So why be in fear of it? That's just something as simple as that for me. But it'll give you some insights as to how to protect yourself and feel secure in the sense of, having food supplies, how to grow things, how to be self-sufficient, and remind ourselves what it was like living in our grandparents' time when they used to be self-sufficient. So I'm very interested in things like that too.
Matt, it's been a pleasure. Oh, thank you so much. I feel like in a month or two or so, if I could have you back and we can have another chat. And
sure.
That would be lovely. Thank you so much. And for everyone, please go to my website, ascensiontalk.com, and the links to everything we talked about today and to Matt as well is on my blog and episode number 16. And I put a little bit info, and maybe some pictures that you send me as well. So thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you so much, Yanni, and God bless. And just remember, one last little message is, this is for everyone as well, is that keep your head on a swivel, stay safe, and of course don't break the rules of lockdown no matter what your beliefs are. Just go with it for now. There is a higher purpose happening out there, and just trust your gut, trust yourself, and love each other.
And as mentioned, please head over to my website, ascensiontalk.com, and you can go to the blog page there and find all the links and everything we talked about today. And that is on number 16. So just go there. And thank you so much for tuning in once again. And until next time, please take care of yourself, ground yourself, and see you on the other side. Bye.